That jar of shampoo in your shower, the one you have been using for years, maybe decades, contains ingredients that the European Union will not allow on a supermarket shelf. The EU has prohibited over 7,800 substances from use in cosmetics. Australia has not come close. The EU applies something called the precautionary principle. A company must prove a chemical is safe before it can be sold. In Australia, it works the other way around. A cosmetic product does not require pre-market safety testing. It does not need government approval before it reaches your bathroom. And the word fragrance on the back of your shampoo bottle can legally conceal dozens of undisclosed chemical compounds because fragrance formulations are protected as trade secrets. You are washing your hair with a product that does not have to prove it is safe, does not have to tell you everything it contains, and sits inside a regulatory framework that most Australians assume is stricter than it actually is. Here are 10 shampoo brands sold in Australia you should stop buying. Counted down from bad to worst. Number 10. Palmolive Naturals Shampoo. The word naturals on this bottle is a design choice, not a composition standard. There is no regulated definition of natural for cosmetics in Australia. The ACCC requires that claims on packaging are not misleading, but naturals as a brand name sits in a grey zone. It is a name, not a claim. Flip the bottle over. Sodium lauryl sulfate is the primary surfactant. Synthetic fragrance is listed as parfum. The rest of the list reads like a chemistry textbook: cocamidopropylbutane, sodium chloride, citric acid, preservatives, and colorants. Somewhere near the bottom, you will find the botanical extract that justifies the green bottle. Palmolive Naturals is made by Colgate-Palmolive, a company with a market capitalization of roughly $80 billion. The green bottle with the botanical illustration is not telling you what the shampoo is. It is telling you what the shampoo wants you to think it is. If the product were as natural as the name implies, the ingredient list would be 3 lines long. It is not. It is 15 lines of synthetic chemistry with a plant extract listed below the preservatives. That is not a natural product. That is a conventional product with a natural name. Number 9. Pantene Pro V. Pantene is owned by Procter & Gamble, the largest consumer goods company in the world. The Pro V range contains sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium lauryl sulfate as the primary cleansing agent, dimethicone, a silicone that coats the hair shaft to create the illusion of smoothness, and synthetic fragrance listed as parfum. Silicones are not inherently dangerous, but they are derived from non-renewable sources, they build up on the hair over time, and they create a surface effect that masks the actual condition of your hair underneath. The shampoo does not repair your hair. It coats it. When you stop using it, the coating is gone, and the hair underneath is often drier than when you started. That is not damage repair. That is product dependency by design. Pantene spends hundreds of millions of dollars a year on advertising globally. That advertising budget is built into the price of the bottle. You are not paying for better ingredients. You are paying for the campaign that convinced you the ingredients were better. Number 8. Herbal Essences Classic Range. The branding is botanical. The bottle is covered in illustrations of flowers, herbs, and fruit. The name says herbal. The ingredients say otherwise. The classic range, not the newer BioRenew line, which uses a different formulation approach, contains sodium lauryl sulfate, synthetic fragrance, and colorants. The herbs are there. They are listed. But they appear well below the surfactants, the fragrance, and the preservatives on the ingredient list. In cosmetics labeling, ingredients are listed in descending order of concentration. When the herbal ingredient is listed 15th out of 20, it is present in trace amounts. It is a garnish, not a foundation. It is there so the marketing has something to point at. Herbal Essences is also owned by Procter & Gamble, the same parent company as Pantene, the same formulation infrastructure, the same margin targets, the same industrial surfactant as the base. The herb is on the label, the chemistry is in the bottle, and the distance between the two is measured in marketing budget, not in milligrams. Number 7. Aussie. The brand is called Aussie. It is not Australian. It is owned by Procter & Gamble and manufactured internationally. The name and the kangaroo on the bottle imply an Australian connection that does not exist in any meaningful sense, not in ownership, not in manufacturing, and not in formulation. The ingredient list has historically included parabens, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic fragrance. SLs is one of the most aggressive surfactants used in consumer hair care. It is effective at removing dirt and oil. It is also effective at stripping the natural sebum from your scalp, the oil your body produces specifically to protect your hair and skin. Prolonged use of SLs-based shampoos has been linked to skin irritation, dryness, and contact dermatitis in sensitive individuals. Hair care professionals have flagged Aussie products specifically for their potential to cause dry, brittle hair after extended use. But the core issue is the name. Aussie implies origin and identity. The product delivers neither. It is a global brand with an Australian costume, and every time someone buys it thinking they are supporting an Australian company, the margin flows to Cincinnati, Ohio, where Procter & Gamble is headquartered. Number 6. Schwarzkopf Extra Care. Schwarzkopf is owned by Henkel, a German multinational with over $22 billion in annual revenue. The Extra Care range is positioned as the premium drugstore option in Australia. It costs more than Pantene, more than Palmolive, and sits on the shelf with clinical-sounding names like Ultimate Repair, Fibra and Marrakesh Oil and Coconut. The formulations contain dimethicone, amodimethicone, and other silicones designed to create the tactile sensation of repaired hair. Synthetic fragrance, parfum, is present across the range. The premium positioning implies a premium formulation. But the architecture of the product is the same as the budget brands: surfactant to strip, silicone to coat, fragrance to sell. The difference is the price, not the chemistry. When you pay $12 for a bottle of Schwarzkopf instead of $6 for Palmolive, the extra $6 is not buying you cleaner ingredients. It is buying you a more convincing story about what those ingredients are doing. Number 5. Dove. Dove's entire brand identity is built on gentleness. The advertising campaigns celebrate real bodies, real skin, and real care. It is one of the most trusted names in personal care globally. And the shampoo contains sodium lauryl sulfate and synthetic fragrance. Dove is owned by Unilever, a company with annual revenues exceeding 60 billion euros. The same Unilever that owns Tresemme, which is higher on this list for different reasons. The gentle positioning of Dove is not entirely wrong, the formulations are generally milder than some competitors, and the brand has invested in lower irritation surfactant blends. But the gap between the brand story and the ingredient list is the problem. Consumers buy Dove because they believe it is fundamentally different from the other bottles on the shelf. It is not different enough. SLLs is SLLs whether it comes in a white bottle with a Dove on it or a black bottle with a keratin claim. The branding is doing the differentiation that the formulation is not. And at $8 to $10 for 400 milliliters. You are paying a premium for the perception of gentleness, not the chemistry of it. Number 4. Head and Shoulders. Head and Shoulders is the world's best-selling shampoo. It is owned by Procter & Gamble and marketed as a medicated anti-dandruff solution. The active ingredient in the Classic Clean range has historically been zinc pyrithione. In 2022, the European Union banned zinc pyrithione from use in cosmetic products, classifying it as toxic for reproduction under kelp regulation. The substance was added to Annex 2 of the EU Cosmetics Regulation, the list of prohibited substances. That means it cannot be sold in any cosmetic product in Europe. Products containing it must be pulled from shelves. In Australia, it remains permitted. Head & Shoulders products containing zinc pyrithione are still on Australian shelves today. The same ingredient. The same concentration. Banned in Europe. Available in Woolworths. That is the regulatory gap in a single product. If you are using Head & Shoulders in Australia, you are putting a substance on your scalp every day that an entire continent of 450 million people decided was too risky to allow. The TGA regulates products that make therapeutic claims. ACIS oversees the chemicals used in cosmetic manufacturing. Neither body applies the precautionary standard that the EU does. The product falls between two regulators, and neither one caught what Europe caught. Number 3. Tresemme Keratin Smooth. Tresemme is owned by Unilever. The Keratin Smooth range was at the center of class action lawsuits alleging that the shampoo contained DMDM hydantoin, a preservative classified as a formaldehyde donor. DMDM hydantoin works by slowly releasing small amounts of formaldehyde to prevent mold growth in the bottle. Formaldehyde is classified as a human carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. It has been linked to leukemia and other cancers when absorbed through the skin. In 2012, Unilever paid $10.2 million to settle claims over its Suave Keratin range, which contained similar ingredients. The lawsuits against Tresemme allege hair loss, scalp irritation, and allergic dermatitis. The formaldehyde release is not theoretical, it is the designed function of the preservative. It releases formaldehyde when it contacts water. You use shampoo with water. Every time. The product is doing exactly what the chemistry says it will do. The label just does not tell you that. A 2005 recommendation from the North American Contact Dermatitis Group formally advised that DMDM hydantoin should not be used in any consumer cosmetics. Tresemme continued using it. The preservative kept the product from going moldy. The label kept the consumer from asking questions. Number 2. Ox. Ox was acquired by Johnson & Johnson in 2016 for $3.3 billion. Multiple class action lawsuits have been filed alleging that Ox shampoos and conditioners contain DMDM hydantoin, which releases formaldehyde upon contact with water. The lawsuits claim the products cause significant hair loss and scalp damage, the opposite of what the labels promised. Johnson & Johnson acknowledged the harmful effects of DMDM hydantoin as early as 2012 and pledged to remove formaldehyde-releasing ingredients from its personal care products by 2015. It removed the ingredient from its baby shampoo by 2013. It did not remove it from Oggs. When Johnson & Johnson acquired Oggs 3 years later, it inherited a product line still containing the ingredient it had publicly committed to eliminating. The company continued manufacturing Oggs products with DMDM hydantoin until September 2021, 6 years after its own self-imposed deadline. No recall was issued. Bottles containing the ingredient remained on shelves for months after the reformulation. A May 2025 study found that over half of the women participating had used at least one personal care product containing formaldehyde releasing preservatives in a single week. As of 2026, litigation remains active with no final settlement announced. Ox is now owned by Kenvue, the consumer health company spun off from Johnson & Johnson. The brand name changed. The ownership structure changed. The lawsuits did not. Number 1. L'Oréal Paris Elvive. L'Oréal is the largest cosmetics company in the world. Annual revenue exceeds 40 billion euros. It operates in 150 countries. Elvive is its mass-market shampoo range, sold in every major Australian retailer: Woolworths, Coles, Chemist Warehouse, Priceline, Big W. The ingredient list across the Elvive range typically includes sodium lauryl sulfate, dimethicone, synthetic fragrance listed as parfum, and a suite of conditioning agents designed to make the hair feel repaired without changing its actual structure. But Elvive is number one on this list, not because it is the worst individual product. It is number one because it represents the system. L'Oreal sets the pace for the global mass market haircare industry. Where L'Oreal formulates, others follow. When L'Oreal uses SLs, dimethicone, and undisclosed fragrance blends as the backbone of a product range sold in 150 countries, it normalizes those ingredients as the industry standard. Every other brand on this list operates within the template that L'Oreal established. The scale is the issue. Billions of bottles. Hundreds of millions of consumers. A formulation architecture built on surfactants that strip, silicones that coat, and fragrances that conceal, replicated across every price point, every sub-brand, every market. And here is the detail that makes it personal. The EU has banned over 10,800 substances from cosmetics. L'Oreal sells products in Europe that comply with those bans. It reformulates for the European market. It removes the ingredients that Europe says are too dangerous. It also sells products in Australia that do not have to meet those standards. The same company. Different formulations. Different regulatory flaws. Same consumer on the other end, assuming they are protected equally. They are not. Here is what sits behind all 10 of those entries. Australia does not require pre-market safety testing for cosmetic products. The Australian Industrial Chemicals Introduction Scheme, ACIS, regulates the importation and manufacture of chemicals used in cosmetics. But it does not approve finished products. It does not test the shampoo that sits in your shower. It assesses the chemicals that go into it at the point of import or manufacture, not at the point of sale. The TGR only regulates products that make therapeutic claims. A shampoo that says it cleans is a cosmetic. A shampoo that says it treats dandruff may be a therapeutic good. The line between the two determines which regulator oversees it, and in many cases. Neither regulator is looking at the finished formula that ends up in your shower. And then there is the fragrance loophole. The word parfum or fragrance on an Australian shampoo label can contain dozens of individual chemical compounds. Under current regulations, fragrance formulations can be protected as trade secrets. The individual chemicals do not need to be disclosed. A single word, parfum, can legally conceal phthalates, synthetic musks, and allergens that have been linked to endocrine disruption and reproductive harm. In the EU, from July 2026, cosmetic labels will be required to individually declare 80 fragrance allergens when present above specified thresholds. Australia has no equivalent requirement on the horizon. The EU is expanding transparency. Australia is standing still. And the word parfum continues to do the work of hiding what the brand does not want you to see. Here are 4 shampoo brands worth buying. Number 4. EcoStore. EcoStore is a New Zealand-owned company that has been formulating plant-based personal care products since 1993. The shampoo range is free from SLES, SLES, parabens, silicones, synthetic fragrances, and synthetic colors. The formulations use plant-derived surfactants, typically sodium cocoa sulfate or decyl glucoside, that clean without stripping. EcoStore is certified by Environmental Choice New Zealand and carries the sensitive choice tick from the National Asthma Council of Australia, meaning the products have been reviewed as suitable for people with asthma and allergies. The pricing sits at the accessible end of the natural market, around $8 to $10 for 350 millilitres. That is within $1 or $2 of the mass market brands on this avoid list. Available at Woolworths, Coles, and independent retailers nationally. The excuse that natural shampoo is too expensive does not survive a price check against EcoStore. Number 3. Sukin. Sukin is Australian-owned, founded in Melbourne, and formulated locally. The shampoo range is free from sulfates, parabens, silicones, synthetic fragrances, and animal-derived ingredients. Instead of Slells, Sukin uses mild plant-derived cleansers like sodium lauryl methyl acethionate and cocamidopropyl betaine. These surfactants clean effectively without the aggressive stripping action of SLs. The fragrance comes from essential oils, mandarin, tangerine, and lavender, which are listed individually on the label rather than hidden behind parfum. That distinction matters. When you can see every fragrance component on the ingredient list, you can make an informed decision. When the label says parfum, you cannot. Sukin is one of the most affordable natural shampoo brands in Australia, typically priced between $7 and $10 for 500 millilitres. That is cheaper per milliliter than most of the brands on the avoid list. It is available at Woolworths, Coles, Chemist Warehouse, and Priceline nationally. You do not have to spend more to avoid sulfates and synthetic fragrance. You just have to read the label. Number 2. Akin. Akin is an Australian brand that has been formulating without sulfates, parabens, silicones, artificial fragrances, or propylene glycol since its inception. The shampoo range uses Australian botanical extracts, macadamia oil, jojoba, rosemary as functional ingredients rather than label decoration. These are not trace amounts listed below the preservatives. They are present at concentrations that affect the performance of the product. Akin is certified vegan and cruelty-free by Choose Cruelty Free Australia. The formulations are designed by Australian cosmetic chemists, and the brand is transparent about what it excludes and why. Every ingredient on the label is identifiable. Every function is explainable. There is no single word hiding a cocktail of undisclosed chemicals. Priced at around $15 to $18 for 225 millilitres, it sits at the mid-premium level. More than Sukin, less than salon brands. Available at Chemist Warehouse, Priceline, and selected independent pharmacies nationally. Number 1. Ethique. Ethique is a New Zealand-based B Corp that makes concentrated solid shampoo bars. No plastic bottle. No water in the formula. The product is activated when you add water in the shower. Each bar is the equivalent of roughly 3 bottles of liquid shampoo, which means less weight, less packaging, and less waste across the product's life. The formulations are free from sulfates, parabens, silicones, synthetic fragrances, palm oil, and plastic. Ethique publishes its full ingredient list with plain language explanations of what each component does and why it is there. The raw materials are sourced with full traceability. The bars are certified by Leaping Bunny for cruelty-free standards, climate neutral for carbon impact, and 1% for the planet for environmental giving. Priced at around $20 to $24 per bar, the per wash cost is comparable to or lower than most liquid shampoos when you account for the concentration. Each bar lasts roughly 80 washes. That is about 25 to 30 cents per wash, less than a single-use pod of Pantene. Available at selected Woolworths, health food stores, and online nationally. It is the most transparent shampoo brand available in Australia. And it does not come in a bottle. 3 questions. 10 seconds. Every time you pick up a shampoo bottle. 1. Does the ingredient list contain parfum or fragrance without specifying what is in it? If it does, you are being asked to trust a trade secret with your scalp every day. 2. Does it contain sodium lauryl sulfate or sodium laureth sulfate? If it does, there are gentler, plant-derived alternatives available at the same price point that clean just as effectively without stripping your hair and scalp of their natural oils. 3. Does any ingredient in the product appear on the Use Annex the 2 prohibited list? If you do not know, the brand has not made it easy for you to find out, and that tells you something about their priorities. If the answer to all three questions is no, no, and no, the bottle is probably worth buying. If the answer to any of them is yes, put it back and look at what is next to it on the shelf. The alternative is almost always within arm's reach. The shampoo aisle is 3 meters of bottles designed to make you feel like you are choosing between science and nature, between repair and volume, between silk and strength. But behind every bottle is the same question: what is in it and who made sure it is safe? In Australia, the answer to the second question is mostly you. The regulator does not test the product before it reaches the shelf. The company does not have to prove it is safe before selling it, and the label does not have to tell you everything it contains. The U protects its consumers with 1,400 banned substances and a precautionary framework that puts the burden of proof on the manufacturer. Australia protects its consumers with an ingredient list that allows trade secrets and a regulatory system that assesses chemicals at import, not at the point of contact with your skin. The gap between those two systems is not theoretical. It is sitting in your shower right now. The best shampoo in this country is the one that tells you exactly what is in it, every ingredient, every fragrance component, every function, and does not need a trade secret to hold the formula together. Which brand on this list surprised you most? Drop it in the comments. And if someone you know is still washing their hair with a product that contains ingredients banned on another continent, share this with them. They deserve to know what the bottle is not telling them. Subscribe if you want to see what we pull apart next. I will see you in the next one.